Hi there, Liam O'Gogan here from the research program Does It Matter? This episode in the series of a case study in relation to the Central Statistics Office and the process of evaluating, interviewing and selecting a census enumerator in West Donegal in 2016 involves an update essentially to a recent video which I placed up on YouTube, which you'll see here. I put it up on the 12th of May 2016 called a document redaction proposal, and essentially in order to move the core interest of this particular case study forward and to move the personal details of the individuals who have been victims, like I have been, of a data breach by the Central Statistics Office, which that Central Statistics Office are still in public denial about, and I'm now being coerced by the Data Protection Office. But because these people are more interested apparently in circling the wagons and covering their own positions, I had, with the help and wise feedback from a number of mentors of mine, come up with a proposal that I myself would professionally redact these documents, while at the same time securitizing the veracity and record of the fact that this evidence actually existed. So the idea that I had is that I would redact the document and send copies of the original unredacted document, the actual data leak and the breach of data from the CSO, to a selected number of trustees of truth, essentially. And the reason I'm sharing this update is really because, as a methodology for people who are trying to speak truth to power, who often find themselves in a situation where their evidence is trying to be suppressed or something, this may be a vehicle to do so. Because a lot of people are then seek out who can you trust in authority, and if, like myself, you come to a position that very few people you find are not in the collegial interrelationship of cross-covering for each other. Fortunately, that's my belief of the world we're in. So I wanted to create a situation which, as a holding scenario, would hold these documents in trust. My longer-term objective is to make a formal complaint to the Data Protection Commissioner in Ireland to demand and keep the focus on getting a formal decision which states that the CSO have breached the data of individuals, and then to augment the original overall report, which is a collation of all the correspondence with this, and embed this statement of decision into that document, which will alleviate the need for me to then continue to expose or exhibit the original data. So the methodology I chose, I have this idea of having what I call truth trustees, or seeking what I would call my Yodas, people to whom I can reach out and say, will you hold this information in trust in this intermediate period? So what I've done is I've written this email, now again obviously you can't see the details of these people. I've written to the small, I said I'm writing to a small select group of individuals, including yourself, with a personal but public interest-centered request. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. And I go on to describe the exercise I've been involved in. I'm talking about having uncovered evidence of 2 breaches of personal data, one of which is beyond reasonable and even unreasonable doubt. And the other one is either true or else the CSO are lying, insofar as they either sent my data out and let it out into the ether unprotected, or else, and other people have suggested that to me, they just dumped it in the bin to suitably ensure that the data could not be there to interrogate the potential or alleged or suspicious abuse of process that I believe they have been party to. So essentially what I decided to do was, I had been sent an email from the the Central Statistics Office, which contains this leak. So what I wanted to do was to send the copy of the original email with the leaked data to these group of trust holders, and that they would take the information. So what I asked them to do, I was really setting the stage for them in this email. What I asked them to do was, I'll just see it down here. Okay, so on an interim basis, this is what my suggestion was. I said, it'll settle here now. I am requesting you, as an act of civic duty, to act as a holder of trust in terms of ensuring the integrity and veracity of the evidence of the original data. So according to, I'm not sure, according to the data protection people, or these people may become data controllers or whatever, but I'm saying if you're willing to take on this civic duty, so I consider it's a civic duty by the people who I have selected on the basis of my long experience of working with them and my sense of their honour and understanding of truth and dignity and the desire to make for a better society. I said, if you're willing to take on this civic duty, I will then forward you the original email from the CSO which was sent to me, which contains evidence of the data breach. What my expectation from you is that you will preserve securely a copy of that email for reproduction in the event of a future false claim that this breach did not occur and that the evidence does not exist. The importance of this is that the Chief Statistician of the CSO, Deirdre Cullen, in alignment, I would say, with her Director General of the CSO, Pádraig Dalton, who is cognizant of all of this situation, has still failed as of today, the 14th of May 2016, to come out and correct the public record, where she has been quite falsely telling media and the public that the CSO have never released anybody's personal data, and therefore bringing people into this false illusion that their data is secured for the next 100 years under the census, and the evidence that I have to the contrary. So then I said, due to my regard for your personal integrity, I trust that you will not use this data for any other purposes, and that when I confirm to you that having received a copy of the formal decision from the data protection authorities recording the factuality of the data breach by the CSO, I will then further correspond with you by email requesting you to destroy the copy of the evidential email which I send to you. If you're prepared to carry out this important service in the public interest, please email me by return indicating your willingness to do so, and I will then send the email with the data breach evidence by return. So I'm looking here at developing what I think is a methodology which may be used by others, vulnerable ordinary citizens, in trying to process in a methodological and reproducible, evidence-based, traceable, auditable process their material, and not necessarily have to go to people like, if you ask me, do I trust the CSO in Ireland? No, as a result of my learned experience. Do I trust the data protection people now? No, as a result of my second poor experience with them. So I'm going to people that I trust. Also people who have no what you call skin in the game in that sense. They have no particular, I haven't asked them, they're not asked them to take sides, I'm asked them to hold a document in the event that, as I believe these people will continue to do, to try and brazen it out, to pretend they didn't act, that the CSO didn't break the law and didn't fundamentally contaminate the potential of anybody safely giving their data to them. So, for example, I'm a citizen who would love to fill in his census form, demand the right to do that, as my forebears did back in 1911, which was which I've described in an earlier video, etc. I'm being denied the right to do that with security because my learned experience has been that my data is not secure and nobody's actually dealing with this. So I'm being denied that constitutional right that I have, and somebody's going to actually try to impose some constitutional obligation on me in that regard. A real mixed up world we're living in here, folks. So anyway, that was the first stage. So I just want to see what happens in terms of, so I sent this out to a selected number of people whom I trust and have identified. Okay, again, a number of those people have already come back to me and my response saying they were willing to carry out this task in the public interest, and therefore the next thing I've done, I've sent this corresponding mail saying, sent you, thanks for holding trust. I've attached the relevant document and I put the name of the document, and I attached the document as you can see beneath. So I just want to pull on the screen that document for your evidence. So this is the document. You see, it's a 7-page document. I've just again put a commentary on top of it saying this is the email thread sent to me by Marcella Joyce, who was, by the way, the higher executive officer in the census section of the Central Statistics Office. So that's just contextualizing that. She sent me that email on the 5th of April at 15:17. The attached critical PDF document, that's the document that was attached, and that's down here on the left hand side below, is appended here on page 7. Zoom in to reveal data breach. So if you take this page here, now I just want to set it up in a particular way so you can see it's in the sequence. This one here at the bottom, I've left it in very zoomed out scenarios so that I don't believe this is going to be possible for you to zoom in and actually see the detail. That's not my intention here anyway, to enable that. But essentially that was the appended document. So these on the left hand side there, the 5 or 6 pages, that's the thread of communication that I had been on with Marcella Joyce. So I said I've also password protected this document to prevent editing this. So this document is the original document. The data which is on that page here, so again I'll just minimize that, pull that down here. The data on this page here contains a breach of data of people's personal information to me in total contradiction to the belief system and the statements made by the CSO about their standards of protection and securitized documentation. The other thing, just want to say that these people, look at these people with high skill sets in the country in terms of organising data. Deirdre Cullen has claimed that they're in the process of scanning 370,000 pages a day for the next 6 months. So the idea that these people can't do this stuff properly shouldn't cross your mind. I mean, if these people can't do this, we are really in trouble, folks. So essentially, I have done my part of the exercise. I have in the meantime, I have uploaded the modified document which has blurred the individual details of the other candidates, and I'll just show you. So we're coming up in issue.com. I have updated and uploaded the master document there. So the master document, you'll see, contains the it contains the information which has been redacted and a covering note explaining the process of redaction and the methodology of keeping the veracity of this evidence secure. So that's an update to where we're at. Hopefully the next stage, the next strategic stage for me, is to lodge an official complaint with data protection to consistently make sure that these people do what they're supposed to do and deliver a decision to say that the CSO breached the data. Now, just to say that if you look back in the earlier conversations, particularly one that I had with the head of data office, Magella Lysett, you will notice in that the evidence is there of her voice telling me in a recorded phone call that the CSO have put their hands up in relation to this and have themselves proactively gone to data protection. No evidence so far that any of what she says is true, and Magella Lysett, in alignment with what appears to me the normal practice or standards of professional misbehaviour by senior public servants in this regard, has simply gone to ground and is not responding. So that's the latest update from the Does It Matter research programme. Liam O'Gogan here. Thank you very much.